all we have is now. So why do I find it so difficult to be present? Zoli, what am I doing wrong?
What if you're just being a person? I don't think you're doing anything wrong. This is and there are plenty of people on the internet and in classes and books that will tell you techniques to be in the moment, in the present. I've never met anybody, no matter what they say, and some say I'm always in the present. Well, you just left it, by the way, by saying that. So I think it's an abstract ideal. And I think the purpose of that, Linda, is to bring us back and to remind us to come back to that point. And for me, being in the present means resting. If I can just rest in it and get my monkey mind to quit making noise and screaming and yelling at me, sometimes it's easier than others. And I think the stress comes when we fight that and we start thinking, I have to do differently. Well, how much can we do? That's going to depend on your point of evolution, your race structure, how stressed you are at the time. What'd you eat today? Did you poop? Did you brush your teeth? All that kind of crazy stuff. I think it's more important than worrying if I'm in the moment as to how do I feel right now? What am I attending to? What is going on around me that I need to attend to? And when I do that, it seems to spread out laterally rather than me rushing towards the future or pontificating in my mind about the past. So I don't know if that helps, but
That
that's
does
as far.
help. It's a reasonable way of looking at it instead of my frazzled brain thinking of all the things that I'm not doing and all the things that I should be doing and not being able to rest, which is what you touched on.
Well, when we worry about it, we're not resting. You know, when our mind is going and beating ourselves up just for being people, that's very fashionable these days. To beat yourself up, you don't look right, you don't sound like right, you don't smell right, you don't do anything right. And so there's all these fixes of what you have to do. Just stop. Just stop. Take a little time, minutes, hours, days, months, a lifetime, whatever, and stop with those outer voices of other people telling you what to do, how to do it. Because that is what causes us a lot of stress, because we're social animals. There's a part of us that really does want to belong, and that's joyful and beautiful and wonderful. But when that wanting to belong is so loud that our own inner voice can't come through, there's the problem. We all do that. And people who say they don't are just big flat liars. It's that easy.
That's true. That's true. And when you were talking about that, I was thinking, sure, I can stop listening to outside influences, but let me find another distraction.
Well, outside influences, it's not that bad. I get a lot of good intel from other people. Like I say, if my work seems smart to you, it's because I surround myself with people a lot smarter than I am. I got my husband, my brother, Dr. Engel of Swanee, my brother from another mother, John Hogue. These people think differently than me. They're attenuated to reality in a different way. I learn from them. I don't know what the hell they learned from me, except comic relief, and that's okay. We can use that. Just think Betty White. She was awesome. I'd love to be like her. We worry too much about worrying. It's this constant cycle of what are they going to think of me? And once again, that's not so bad because you want to fit in with society in a certain way. It's up to you how much and which society do you want to fit into. We talked yesterday on the radio show a couple of days ago about the Italian saying, Paese che vai, usanza che trova. Wherever you are, do as the Romans do. In other words, you try to fit in somehow, some way. If you're a rebel and a renegade, you're not going to want to. So what? We need those people too.
So, for all the rebels out there, why should they consider maybe being a renegade instead?
Well, you'd have to ask them. We all go through rebellious stages and we're rebelling against an authority or an authority figure. The difference in a rebel and a renegade, reality pirate is a renegade. That guy, he's just going to be authentic and just be himself. A rebel is rebelling against something that they feel is oppressing them or him or her. If it's a group of people being oppressed, the French Revolution, we're rebelling in this country, we're rebelling, we're dumping tea overboard. And a renegade is somebody that's just different and they appear to be rebelling, but they're really not. They're just being themselves, and maybe they don't fit in so well either. We all have those archetypes within us. Those are archetypes. They're precious. We need those people in the world because that's what brings change. I said to a friend of mine who is a priest, this guy's always causing problems. No, no words mentioned. I don't think he'd listen to this anyway, but if he did, you know who you are. And he said, well, I'm like that. I said, you are such a renegade. He said, well, that's how the church changes. Well, good luck with that. Now we're doing mass differently. That's fine. I don't mind it. It's beautiful. It's elegant. You don't like it, don't go. This is how life is. If somebody's rebelling in your life and it's a family member, that can be very destructive. Just think, teenager. And why did teenage brains do that? Oh my God, my poor parents. What the hell? My brother didn't rebel. I mean, he was amazing. He did, but in a more sophisticated, genteel way, because that's how he is. This is the guy that was writing operas at age 9, listening to Buxtehude at Lindbergh, teaching himself Russian. His was different. Mine was, I have to be different because I don't know who I am. That is a lot of what the rebelliousness comes from. I'm trying to change my neurology. I'm trying to change my social structure. I'm trying to change my emotions. The neurotransmitters are going to start popping in a different way in your teenagehood. So there's no one definition, but I think the archetype of the rebel and the archetype of the renegade are very precious to look at because they are needed.
What I hear you say is that a renegade is more engaging in a positive movement towards something, and a rebel is pushing negatively against something.
Well, a renegade may not be pushing anything. They just may be themselves. They're just not. A lot of times, the renegade archetype is expressive because that's who it is and that's what it's doing. The rebel is wanting your attention and is wanting to change things. I look at the renegade as really not that they don't care what you think, but they're going to be authentic and it might cost them something.
They're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's just my opinion.
Right. It's interesting to look at the different archetypes because it helps maybe understand where you're at or what somebody else is going through.
Oh yeah, the archetypes have been around for quite a bit. I mean, since the beginning of time, actually. Have they been talked about a lot? I don't know. Carl Jung addressed it. The teacher Carolyn Mace addresses it a lot. There are archetype cards like tarot cards you can um, philosophically or psychologically address. But the archetypes, we have new archetypes that develop too, because the world changes and psychology changes. We may not see some of the old archetypes enacted as they come on.
And so we wouldn't necessarily acknowledge or recognize them until later, until they've been in effect for a while.
Or maybe not at all. Maybe some archetypes, and I'm just thinking of this, go with it if you want. I'm thinking some archetypes are really appropriate to maybe the 1100s, BC, different times we didn't have technology. What is the archetype of the nerd personality? That's a definite archetype. We didn't have that in 1600. Or maybe we did and they were copying Bibles. I don't know. Everything I say is my world, and I'm hoping that it's stimulating good conversation. Please don't agree with most things I say. Agree with yourself. Try the renegade idea of saying, wait a minute, this fits for me and this doesn't fit for me. Learn who you are. Try to make a difference in your own life and leave other people's lives alone.
Oh, great advice, especially the last part, leaving other people's lives alone.
Oh, that kicked me late in life. At almost 72, I was about my second Saturn return. I was about 56 till that kicked in. I thought, this codependency thing is not working. I care more about what other people think and what they do, but I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Well, I did in a lot of ways, but not personally. So it takes a while.
It does. The relationships are so much smoother, though, once you learn to step off of people's. I'm learning that still, obviously. I think that's a life lesson. But when you worry about your own life instead of trying to fix everybody else's, relationships usually don't have so much tension.
I think for females, I call it the helpaholic syndrome, We're addicted to helping other people. It could be because you're kind and you are loving and you are a helper personality. But oh boy, is there a limit to that.
There is. And the learning boundaries is a lot more difficult. We talk about boundaries a lot, but for the helpaholic, you don't see the boundaries very clearly. So it takes a while.
Well, we don't see the boundaries because we're so engaged in what the other person's doing. And we're not noticing we're driving them friggin' crazy with our meddlesomeness. A lot of time, let kids grow up. I jokingly say to my husband, I said, I think all boys should be taken away from their mothers at age about 13 and put somewhere where we can't continue to meddle with them in their life. Now, you've done a good job with that. You've homestyled your kids, you've homeschooled them, you've styled their life so that they're independent. So you're the exception of the rule. So I harp on that. I'm not a mother. I didn't bear children. I didn't adopt children in that way. But when I see these coddled adult males, the beta male idea, that's horrible. What woman wants that? Well, who wants that in their life? So there's my rant for the day.
Well, it's apt because it's such a difficult transition for mothers to go from when you're nurturing your children, they need that. They need to be coddled, as little babies. So you get so used to nurturing and loving, but then that becomes suffocating. There's that in the teen years, there's that transition where if you continue to treat them that way, you're actually holding them back, but your instinct to still coddle them is there. They're still the same person, yet you see the need to step back. And I don't think mothers are necessarily supported in that as much as they used to be when families and communities were more oriented on, when the village raised the children, I think it was a lot easier for mothers.
Yeah, and we're dealing with Western culture here, and I think it is coming back because we've gone so far in the other direction. We've got a mess here. Did each one of your three sons give you clues that it's time now to back up, Mom? Did they do that in different ways?
They did, actually. They fortunately, having a close bond with them and having an honest ability for them to tell me when I'm doing things wrong without me freaking out on them helped a lot, because they say, okay, back off. I don't need help with this. And they do still have to remind me in some cases, but that's been good. I've seen their cues. Hey, it's time. And sometimes they need a little nudging. And it's just a matter of age and differences in personalities, but it's nothing. There's nothing easy about it. We're all still learning as we go.
What a deep bond for the child to be broken. It's just not going to be broken. So I think the aspect of caring and codependent caring can be very blurred. And I don't think we ever get really great at it. I do that to my husband. He's like, hello, here I have this JSOC operator up on a ladder. And what am I saying? Be careful, honey.
Right?
Really? Are you serious? Totally. Didn't he just tell you about 3 chopper crashes in Panama, Beirut, all this stuff? And he's up on a 6-foot ladder, and you're like, oh my God, be careful. How debilitating is that? He gives me a look, and I'm like, oh, I did it again.
It's so easy to show how we care and we love people by expressing, oh, be careful, and saying all these helpful things. But when we realize, of course, they're humans and they're perfectly capable of caring for themselves, they don't need us to micromanage every aspect of it.
A lot of times it's just me, my own fears, me taking care of me. Yeah. And I'm expressing that and delving into his personal energy field because I'm afraid of something happening to him. Really, Zoli?
That's so relatable. I think we all do that more often than we'd like to admit. And I think that even with the parenting thing you're talking about, we have all these fears that we project onto the people we love. And go back to deal with yourself and let them deal with themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of childhood. I relate almost everything to the recovery movement, soul recovery, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call it. But to go back to the beginning, keep going back it up, back it up, back it up, and you'll get to some trauma, you'll get to a trigger, you'll get to a fear. And mine was my own mother saying, be careful no matter what you do. And females is part of the female nature too. I think he would expect me to do that.
Yeah.
And when don't, maybe it seems, oh, maybe she's just not paying attention.
That's right. That term you said, soul recovery, caught my attention.
Yes. Have you heard that before? Have you heard
No,
that?
that's new to me.
Right. So it's an old statement thrown around with the new age community that's half BS and maybe there's a little reality in it. You don't need to recover your soul. Your soul is a master on its own plane. But there are pieces of it that are lost in the past, right? So you are recovering pieces of you that are real. The real part of you, of me, of all of us is our soul. So I think that's what they mean by that. But I like to speak to the common man on the street because that's how I think and that's how I see. And if you say soul recovery, they're going to blow you off, especially in Montana. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to anybody. So, what's the best thing to say? What are you trying to remember about yourself? What are you trying to remember? Well, I don't know. What do you mean trying to remember? Are there pieces of you that keep showing up over and over again and you wonder where they come from? Well, I always say work with a great therapist, work with a great counselor, talk to people from your childhood, talk to family members. Say, do you remember? Have I always done this, this, or this? They're like, yeah. I dread the day that my husband and my brother get together. Oh my God, for more than a short visit, because I'll definitely be the subject and the ridiculous things I do, the comic relief will be hysterical, but I'm just going to go in the other room.
It's comforting to say, to explain it in that way as a way of finding yourself, because sometimes you're right, the idea of soul recovery or some of these grandiose words that people use for simply the spiritual doesn't have to be fancy. It is for the everyday.
Yeah, it's spiritual bullying are these cultic words or phrases that you pick out of the universe and throw them at people, and they think they're supposed to know what you mean. Oh yeah, 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 I do that. No, you don't. You have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about because I don't either. I've done that in my life during my developmental years. Oh my God, I thought I was an alien. I didn't know what I was. I was in my early 20s. I was an airhead. I was doing a lot of good work, but I was an airhead. So I'd hear this phrase and I'd use it. One of the best ones is people that think they're walk-ins. What do you think you are, a walk-in? Well, my soul left and an alien walked in. Now I'm special. Well, an alien didn't walk in. What happened is you left yourself. Nothing walked in. You might want to let your soul walk in a little bit more, but there are no walk-ins. You agree to come to this earth, you got to do the time. And it is recidivistic. You will come back over and over again until we reach that point of mastership, past the fourth degree initiation. And it's not next week or not the next life.
It'll take longer than you expect. That
Well,
the
why do
idea.
we? Yeah,
Sorry, go
but
ahead.
why do we even expect that? Because we want to be done. We want to be over the pain, over the lesson. Oh my God, is this test over yet? No, you may have 100 more lifetimes to go to where you even take the first initiation. I don't know. Check the Theosophy, check Quest magazine, check the work on Benjamin Krim, the Maitreya work. That's the purest, clearest Theosophy that I have seen, that I have found. It is a guidance for me, but that doesn't mean it has to be for you. But once we settle into being here and not try to future ourselves out of our responsibilities, life will become a lot sweeter.
Well, that's a good line, and it's so time relevant because I see and hear so much about awakening to your 5D world, or we're manifesting a new earth, which is all talking about how things are changing, but it does really want to talk. People really want to jump past the physical and the day-to-day strife of being a person to become these spiritual beings, of peace and solitude, I suppose.
Very well put. To me, the most spiritual thing is just being myself, being in the physical world, being present in the physical world is the most spiritual thing there is. You're not going to escape physical reality if you're in earth school. Whatever it is, whatever you're going through, I guarantee you something else is coming. And the thing about the fifth dimension, you're here. If you think you're in the fifth dimension and you have a cold, make it go away. You can't. So all of this dramatizing of the normal life with some abstract ideal that says you get to escape and be special. You're highly evolved, you're an Arcturan, you're in the council. No, you're not. You're a person. Just be a person first. And if the Arcturan Council wants to contact you, why would they? Who do you think you are? And what can you do for the world on a global scale? The people that are out there, most of the politicians, actually, a lot of the Hollywood people, these are more evolved people. Why? Because they're in the public eye. They're working in politics, science, the arts, education. They're working to make a change. And you see them and you hear what they're doing. If that's not you, there's a good chance you're not what you think you are. So just be yourself.
That painted a really good picture for me about how the more evolved people are they're in it, they're living their lives and doing what they're here to do. And the ones that are talking about how other people can awaken or their how highlighting their importance of their stature of where they're at rather than doing stuff. It shows the difference quite well.
It's a trigger for me. It irritates me to hear the new age this or that about how evolved they are and what you have to do to get there. They're not. And who cares if you are or not? You may be a much happier, much more evolved person than they are. These gurus out there, and they have the look, they wear their hair right, they got the turban, they got the bindi, they got the this, they may have an accent, they have the beard, the darker skin, whatever. I don't know what they have, but they look the part. You may be more evolved than them, but they can be wonderful, but they can also be cult leaders. They usually devolved after a while from sexuality, drugs, alcohol, money, power. It's just, they're just people like you. These are people. It's not Babaji, by the way. It's not Yogananda. There's nobody here that's doing that. And so these people that want you to look at them and think of them higher than they are is because they need you looking at them and believing in them because they don't believe in themselves. It is enough for you just to be a person. It is enough for you to say, this is the best I can do right now. What do you love? Have you checked your bank account today? Have you brushed your teeth? You talk to anybody you care about? Have you smiled? What are the basic things? That's evolved because it's simple and it's kind. And we are heading into a global golden world. It's coming. We've got a couple nasty years coming up because we've created all this stuff. Will we survive it? Most of us will. If you don't, then you're free. You get to go. You graduated. What can I say? My irritation at the so called New Age community who doesn't like me, and that's fine, is that you can't be yourself. Quit giving subjective and objective advice that you can't do yourself. Prove it to me that you can. You can't. You don't need the path of somebody else. You need your own. But other people's paths can very much enlighten who we are. That's why I do this on ZoliArt. As I joke, I say it took 10 years for you guys to get me to do this. I didn't want to do it. But I feel better because I'm doing what I came here to do, which is running my big fat mouth, wearing stage makeup with these ridiculous costumes up in the ZoliArt studio. It's fun. I like it. I hope. I hope it makes a difference. But you have to find your own path. If anything I'm saying or one of these guru type people, these David people, can tell you something to do that helps you, run with it. And I'm not saying they don't have good ideas. But what's more important is that you find who you are.
That is an important thing to remind people of because we have a tendency to follow other people rather than be our own unique selves.
Well, we're going to follow people. When you're younger, you're going to put on a lot of different hats. You're going to look different. You can try this. You're going to try that. It's part of finding out who you are. But you got to reach a point to where you're not going so far this way, so far this way. It comes more into the middle and it becomes a prayer where you have a cool head and a warm heart. And you have a prayer of your own life and yourself. And you're able to stay more stable within these changing times. If every time something happens in the external world, you're upset, or you have to have opinions about it or theories about it, it's going to drive you crazy. You don't have to have opinions on everything. And the closer you get to this prayer of who you are, and it is a prayer, it is not a right, it's a gift. Your life is not a right, it's a gift. And the gift is that you can find more about who you are yourself, yes, from other people, but more so from coming into your heart and mind, warm heart, cool head. You can do that. You can do it in increments. You don't have to get it all at once. Nobody does.
True. It's a life lesson. So how would you suggest people who heard that and are thinking there's too much noise? I have way too much noise in my life to even start to know who I am or to start to quiet down and find out.
Why do you have too much? Why? Where is it coming from? Is it something you need to adapt to get better at? The spirit will do that to me every now and then. Oh my God. They'll go, do this, 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 or this. And I'll say, well, I'm trying. They'll say, try harder. It's ruthless. Life is ruthless. It's difficult. And sometimes it's really, really loud. Sometimes other people are loud. Sometimes we are. All the noise, the cacophony is something that we need to manage within ourselves. Why is there too much going on in your life? Why is that? Is it necessary or not? Can you change any of it? Can you talk to anybody about it? Here I go again, but get some help. Get some help. If you are having emotions that you can't control, and if you have noise in your head you can't control, or if you are having psychotic breaks, if you have a personality disorder, there is help out there. Get some help. All the psychic phenomena in the world is not going to help you if you're at that point where there's a neurological dysfunction or behavioral dysfunction that continues to happen. Get help from people who are legally obligated to help you. In other words, psychological, psychiatric, medical people who have been educated, tried, tested, and said it's okay to help you do that. If you're running to a bunch of faith healers, that's fine. That can help occasionally. I don't know. But you need to find out why there's so much noise. Is it just a habit that you have? I do that. I'm like, oh my God, here I go again. It's 2 a.m. Why did I wake up? Well, I'm worrying about this, this, or this. It can be an astrological thing. It can be something coming from the earth. It can be all kind of things. Sometimes we need to just let it go, find a way to breathe it out, find a way through meditation, service, love, light, and power, find another way to deal with it. But I think sometimes you just can't do anything about it. And that's part of life.
Do you think you say reality is a spectrum? Do you think that realization is helpful for people who are specifically in a challenging time?
No, I don't at all. I think if you're in a challenging time, what kind of challenging time are you in? Is this something that is physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, or all of them? We have to define what's going on to get the help. We ourselves cannot always give it to ourselves. We refuse seeking help because sometimes the payoff for not seeking help and being dramatic is bigger, and we don't want to do it. I've done that in my life. I've done that being a drama queen. Back in my teenage years, my friends would call me, I was like a 10-year-old drag queen, screaming out, whoa. I was hysterically funny, but I wasn't happy. I was not a happy kid in that sense. My poor parents, oh my God, canonized them. Wherever you are and whatever's going on, there's usually going to be some help, but you got to find it. If you are in a state of psychosis, you can't help yourself. Other people need to help you. I hope you have a support system. It's very different. Giving people in psychosis a tarot reading is dumb. Unless the tarot reading says, go over here and get help over here. We have to be realistic. There's not a one answer for everything. And so I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a teacher. God knows I'm not a doctor. I'm in a ministerial situation. I'm a research analyst. So I am doing research and analyzing human nature, especially mine, which is ridiculous. So wherever you are, you got to do a bit of that yourself. Can you be your own doctor? Not really, but you can help analyze what's going on with you.
Sometimes it can be very difficult to see that help is available. So I love that you're encouraging people to seek it out, even if it doesn't seem quite visible.
Yeah, and a lot of times we have to depend on those around us who help us and who love us. People who know us and they know when we're reaching crisis point. If we're used to having these specific, if we present in a certain way and let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. They recognize those representations of an episode coming up with us if we are in a psychotic break, whoever you are. Or maybe you're just somebody who's stressed and your family's realizing that you're ramping up. Oh my God, I'm getting so stressed. I'm going to start overeating. I can't sleep. I quit exercising. I quit doing a lot of self care. That can lead to crisis also. But crisis is opportunity, right? So think about the tarot card, the tower. People falling off of this building. Well, you don't know they're not going to land safely. You don't know that, but the crisis is to bring things to a head.
Makes things change. You can't have change without some upheaval.
Yeah, and I don't think we're always learning, and I don't think we're always changing because everything goes in a cycle. We learn and we change in a certain way, then we have to acclimate to those changes. And I think the world has always been a place of this kind of activity. When is it not? Who knows? I've heard it said, oh, there's never been a time like this on earth. How do you know that? You don't know that. Sanat Kumara came here 18.5 million years ago. How do you know that? You don't. I think what we're saying is we are more conscious now, maybe than we have been on this planet. Maybe. That's a possibility. But the important thing is that a lot of people who think they are. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. We will reach a point where we work together more, but we got a couple nasty little years coming up that's going to show us what we need to change.
And so how are we going to smile through it? I guess what you're saying is we're not always going to smile through it. Sometimes it's just hard. Sometimes we're just surviving, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, if you smile through it, you're probably batshit crazy. You don't want to smile through everything. Be authentic. Go, this is horrible. This hurts. This changes. What is coming? What has happened before? How do we deal with this? Who do I depend on? Am I okay? That's human nature. That's your survival instinct. We do this freeze and then we run away from it. And then if we have to fight it, we do, but we do that in our emotional body all the time. And a lot of the monkey mind is trying not to get to the point of having to run away from it and fight it.
Fight, flight, or freeze again.
Yeah, it's a freeze of sort. I think indecision is a freeze of sorts. As I said, I'm not a psychologist. I have friends who are psychiatrists who might say that I'm just wrong. I hope they do because I'll hear about it.
It's good to want to know when you're wrong.
Yeah, as I said, all my friends are a lot smarter than I am, and I made a point of that. They put up with me. God bless them, they do. But that's how I learn and grow by them saying, consider this, 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 or this. Some things I just won't listen to. I'm stubborn in that way. But it's human nature. We're just people. You're not going to get away from it. That's the greatest thing I can say. I can go blue in the face saying we're just people.
And What's interesting about that to me is how you talk a lot about the supernatural and the paranormal, and so many people don't want to be people. They want to be immersed in those worlds.
Well, of course, and it can also have to do with your astrology chart. Let's take mine for example, because I happen to be sitting here. What is your chart ruler? There's one or two planets that just soak your whole chart in their energy field. Mine is Neptune and the moon. Oh my God. How woo woo is that? How out there is that? It gets no more out there than that. So my challenge is to bring what is invisible into the visible realm, which is why I like talking about the realities that we all share. And you can bring that impetus into life in that way. But it depends on who you are and what you came here to do. Once again, there are people that will help you discern that.
So if everyone's here for a different reason, can anyone be a reality pirate?
I don't know how to answer that. I why not? I don't even remember where I got it from. I think it was from watching the one of my favorite movies about the little bitty guys. Anyway, I'll talk about that later on because I can't remember what it's called. Time Bandits. That's it. I love that movie. And I saw that one of that from the 70s. I think that's where I got the idea of reality power from. I don't remember. So that's what you want to be. Go for it.
Don't let anything stop you from what you're here to do, I suppose.
Well, try because a lot's going to stop you. It's called life, and that's the challenge. That's the grist in the middle. That's the squares in the astrology chart. That's the negative points that we have in our life, the stopping signs, and that's where we have to try. We have to be courageous. We have to develop a stronger backbone. We can't just buckle under it and say, "Oh, this is difficult. I can't do this. Somebody rescue me." You're an adult. Get up and try.
So don't wait for the rescue boat and let other people do everything. Be the person you're here to be.
I would say that there are going to be times in your life where you do need the rescue boat. And thank God they're there. But a lot of other times, you may be the one that's rescuing other people. You never know. It's all love, my friend. It's all that big ocean of love, and all the negativity that rains down on it gets absorbed by it. There's nothing more powerful than acceptance and the love. There's no word for what it is. It's a feeling, it's the heart and the head working together. My husband used to say, with special forces, they would change hearts and minds, that they like to win hearts and minds. And you do that by assisting others. But first, you have to learn the skills to do that.
True. That's part of adulting and learning your area of expertise.
I think so. As I joke about, it didn't go well with me. I was not very good at it for a very long time. So what? Maybe I'm still not.
So no JSOC operator for you.
No. Oh, welcome to Earth. The greatest thing I discovered about myself is I'm just me. I'm just myself.
That's one thing that's beautiful about ZoliArt is that you depict that. You show your creativity and you share your work and your writing in an authentic way that encourages others to be who they are. You talk about how your husband is very different from you and how you surround yourself with people who are smart, but not all, carbon copies of Zoli. Although there couldn't be a carbon copy of Zoli, could there?
Why not? We got doubles somewhere. I feel sorry for it. I'll send them an apology note or something. But thank you for that. That is what ZoliArt does, that we want to encourage you, whoever is listening to this or watching this, to try harder. Whatever is bothering you, just try. Don't give up. Don't go into drugs and alcohol and addiction if you can help it. If you are in that, get help. That's the big thing. That's where we need each other the most.
That is why we need each other. And we encourage you to reach out through email to connect at ZoliArtMontana.com and talk about what you're trying. Talk about how you're using your creativity because we need to collaborate. We need to come together and we really need to encourage each other.
Cool. Maybe I'll answer.
We love to hear from you.
Thank you, Linda. God bless.
Take care until next time.